We are being hypnotized by people like this. Newsreaders, politicians, teachers, lecturers. We are in a country and in a world that is being run by unbelievably sick people. The chasm between what we're told is going on and what is really going on is absolutely enormous.
Oh yeah, dude. There's some Nephilim shit.
It's like we all know what's going down, but no one's saying shit what happened to the home of the brave. These motherfuckers, they controlling us now, and no one's talking about how they made us fight and be slaves. And everybody's just walking around, head in the clouds, and won't awaken to a dead in the grave. By then it's too late, we need to be ready to raise up. Welcome to the end of days.
Everybody is slaves, only some are aware that the government releasing poison in the air.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Nephilim Death Squad. I am David Lee Corbo, a.k.a. The Raven. Top's not here, but if he was, he would be the father of disinformation. Don't worry, guys. He's going to be joining us shortly. Before we get into today's guest, I would just like to remind all of our live viewers that this is a 30-minute preview only. Sometime around the 30-minute mark, we'll be going live exclusively to patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. But don't worry, guys, because for a limited amount of time, you can sign up for free and enjoy an ad-free viewing experience, as well as gaining early access to the episode before the general public. You can do all of that, plus get a little discount code off of merchandise from TopLobsta.com. All of that awaits you on patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad, and you can do it for free. Joining us today is Dave. Dave, if you could, for the audience who might not be familiar with you, can you tell us a little bit about what it is that you focus on and where they can find your work?
First off, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Dave Desai, and I just cover news, current events, as well as conspiracy theories on my page. I talk about a lot of current events that are happening, and if they're strange and they're really odd, I definitely mention that, and I say that I don't think that this is actually what's happening. I think the media is lying to us, and I kind of go into those theories. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, pretty much any platform that you want. Just type in Dave Desai and it should come right up.
Dave, I know this isn't what we set out to talk about, but I see right here in this thumbnail you have what is this lady's name? My wife just showed me her recently, and she's a complete disaster of a human being.
Yeah, her name is Trevino, and a lot of people have a lot to say about her.
I never heard of her before. I guess for the audience that doesn't know, this is a woman that live streams virtually every moment of her train wreck of a life. And my wife held me hostage for quite a while watching this lady. She's bizarre, man. It's insane. I guess what goes on TikTok, but that lady, she's managed to monetize sort of the I don't know, things that shouldn't be monetized when it comes to your personal life, and much to the detriment of her own children. What was it in that video that you were saying about her?
I was talking about she. You know what? I don't actually fully remember what was in the video.
Sometimes it's just a blur, dude. I get it.
But
here's another one you got of her. I see her. Yeah, she's kind of the gift that keeps on giving. Like I said, I only saw a little bit of her life. I guess other people have. People have shown up to fight her, right? That's the thing that I saw, is she's so obtuse and so sort of ratchet that she's gotten into arguments with people on the internet and then given out. She's doxed herself, which is hilarious because as a content creator, you do everything you can to try to not get doxed. And she's doxing herself. She's putting her own address out on the internet and telling people to come and fight her. And lo and behold, somebody has.
That's crazy. And like, I think people find her very entertaining to watch, which people like to watch a train wreck. So
yes, yeah, it's hard to look away. But one of the things that we set out to talk about today was something that you and I were discussing before the show started. I have a peripheral awareness in the sense that I've heard whispers in the corners of the internet of something that is pretty heavy, if it is true. And it's this idea that the Pope is actually, and has been for a while, and I guess they're kind of keeping it under wraps. And you and I, before the show started, were talking about a prophecy, and I don't know if it's going to come into play. Let me see if I can find it here. It was the prophecy of the last pope, I believe. Here it is. The prophecy of the popes. It's a controversial claim that predicts 112 popes before the last judgment. And the prophecy is attributed to Saint Malachi, an Irish bishop from the 12th century. And I think that makes, let's see, John Paul II was the 110th pope. Benedict, is that who we have right now, Pope Benedict?
No, that's Francis. We have Francis.
We have Pope Francis. So Pope Benedict would have been the 111th pope, which makes Pope Francis the 112th pope. So you want to talk about that a little bit, Dave? What have you been discovering as far as these whispers of the pope are concerned?
Well, yeah, so a lot of people, well, first off, he is very sick right now. And he was diagnosed with pneumonia and respiratory problems and chronic pain, and he was admitted to the hospital. And this is, I guess, fairly normal for someone at his age. He's around 88 years old. But it's also quite strange. I think a lot of people are getting pneumonia right now. So something's going around. And he was admitted into the hospital. And a lot of people think that he's actually completely not with us right now, but they just haven't announced it yet, because that would cause a lot of panic. There would be a conclave. It would be a whole issue right now. And they don't really know how to deal with that right now. So there are a lot of theories that they're going to wait either today or tomorrow to announce it, because that's when the numbers align. So
interesting. And what numbers are those? I mean, well, actually, before we get there, you mentioned that there's something going around. A lot of people are getting pneumonia. I went my entire life, dude, being pretty robust, had a pretty strong immune system. And all of a sudden, maybe like 3 years ago, I got hit with the flu, and then I got pneumonia, and then I got a collapsed lung. And it was so bizarre. You and I were talking before the show, because you're in the New York area, and that's where my co-host and I are from as well. And I was saying that, you know, Florida is great because it's much more affordable, yada, yada. But honestly, dude, the reason that I got out of there, besides the lockdowns, et cetera, was because I just started getting hammered with being sick every winter. And it was getting to the point where it was like, you know, like I said, I went to the hospital. I went to urgent care to figure out what's going on. Why do I keep breaking out in fevers every time I work out? And they're like, you've been walking around with a collapsed lung, dummy. And a lot of people, and then the other thing that followed up after that was shingles, which is strange. And that's something that a lot of people are experiencing. I was told that it's out of the norm for somebody my age to experience shingles. That's reserved typically for the elderly. And nevertheless, I got it. And then after I got it, it's like, you know, when you drive a red car and then you see nothing but red cars on the road. After I got, you know, pneumonia, or actually, rather, after I got shingles, I started seeing that everybody was having shingles. And a lot of people were having that same explanation of, well, it's typically for older people, but yeah, in some cases, young people get it. And now it's to the point where I don't even know if that's the case anymore. I feel like it's open season. So, yeah, strange that the Pope ends up having pneumonia, or not pneumonia, rather. You said the flu, or was it pneumonia?
Pneumonia, yeah.
Yeah, at 88 years old, that'll take you out. That's a real dangerous thing. So you said that they might be saving it for when the numbers align. What are you alluding to there?
So a lot of people, and a lot of, you know, people who believe what we believe, like to reference Nikola Tesla. And he believed that the world was mathematic and that we would find the answers in the numbers. And, you know, to an extent, I believe that too. I mean, everything that we see lines up to numbers. So he believed that the number 3 meant a shield or hell. He believed that 6 meant man. And he believed that 9 meant the firmament or heaven. And so they believe that the Pope might be announced today as actually, because today would be 3-3. And then if you add up the numbers to 2025, it would be 9.
Interesting, man. That would be great if we got it and we got to call it on this show. But you're right, Dave. It's like oftentimes they're looking for a numerologically significant moment. Right, whether it's the time of day or the date of the year or something like that, they like to execute these things when it is, I suppose, symbolically significant. And that I suppose that's the reason then, Dave, that we have that quote from Nikola Tesla, which is like, if you only understood the power of like 369 or something like that. That gets really convoluted too, because then it goes to the Yin Yang Twins and and whatever their famous song was. I don't think they're talking about the same thing. But you think that's the significance behind it? He thought, what was it, that 3 is a shield or hell?
Yeah.
6 is the number of man, and
Yeah.
9 represents the firmament.
Yeah.
Fascinating. Fascinating.
And like even his birth year lines up with that, because he was born in 1936. So that literally has all 3 numbers there.
Yeah. He's a weird guy too, right? Because he's like, I think he was sitting in sort of the presence of one of his pieces of technology, and he said something to the effect of like, from where I sit, I can see the past, present, and the future. Nikola Tesla, you said it, right? It's like, we within the conspiracy theory community, we bring him up a lot because he's a fascinating character. And one of the more fascinating aspects of him is this idea that he's time traveling. So Nikola Tesla has been, I don't know if it's just the truth in the sense of all the things that he had his hands in and all the sort of hidden things that he was peering into, or if it's more of a symptom of when someone passes away, they become, what would you call it? Like lionized, right? You look at the music industry and it's like, how successful would an artist be if they never died? You never get the answer to that question, but you certainly see them explode into popularity after their death. So I wonder, when it comes to Tesla, what is the actual truth? Was he a wizard of sorts? What do you think?
I think if he had continued his research and continued doing what he was doing, I think we would know a lot more. I don't think there's many people that have picked up what he's done, and maybe there's a particular reason why they don't want to. I think he would be answering a lot of questions that we have now if he was still around.
Instead, we get a sort of a bastardized version, right? In the form of like Tesla, owned by Elon Musk. It seems like a sort of a limited hangout. Right now, they're rolling out these artificial intelligence robots, right? He has Grok and everything. It feels like we've had this technology for a long time, and that this is part of the what's the expression, Dave? It's like the government is always 50 or 40 years ahead as far as their technological advancements. Sometimes I look at Tesla and I look at Elon and all the things that he's working out, and I think that one of the functions that he serves is to slowly roll out this technology that they've had for some time.
And because the technology definitely exists. If you look at other countries, even like Japan or China, they've already had a lot of these things. They've had electric vehicles for a while. So it's only a matter of time they bring it to the American market. And I feel like it's because a lot of us aren't ready for it.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the speculation there is because there is, the petrodollar, right? So much of the world is operating off of oil. We have a stronghold on that, or had a stronghold on that. I guess the Saudis have more of a stronghold on it, but certainly all of our industry here in America is built off of a combustible or a combustion engine, right? And so fuel goes in, spark happens, an explosion happens, exhaust goes out the back, machine goes forward. I do have sort of a bit of empathy, because if you go back like 10 years ago, a lot of the sentiment was kind of like, why aren't we just rolling out these things? Why don't we just have electric vehicles? Why don't we do away with the fossil fuel industry? And I put that in quotes because I don't know what the hell I don't think it's, melted dinosaurs or liquid dinosaurs. But whatever the case may be, it's understandable that an entire industry has to shift. And there's so much apparatus that is dependent on the oil industry. And our own, what would you call that? Not energy manufacturers, but the grid and everything is all dependent on that. So you would need to revamp it. Yeah. So I used to think that, well, the reason we haven't gotten it yet is because it's going to take a long time to disassemble the apparatus that we have now and build up new apparatus around electric vehicles. But as time goes forward, it almost seems like we were purposely snubbed for whatever reason. I don't know why Japan would be allowed to have these things, and here in America, we're not.
I absolutely agree. I think it's been so frustrating to see the rest of the world kind of get off that, and then that we're still here. And I think a lot of it is because I think these big oil companies, I think they've kept it this way on purpose. They don't want the world to move in that direction because they would lose their empire.
Right.
And you know what? Maybe if I was in their position, I'd feel the same way. But I don't know. Maybe I would also feel like it's unethical to do that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? It now we've run into this unethical thing. I know this isn't what we set out to talk about, but that happens all the time on the show. The unethical thing now becomes sort of slave labor to harness or to harvest. What do you call it? Lithium. So in Africa right now, they are basically, there are children, women, elderly people, all digging in these mines trying to extract precious lithium from the earth in order to, be able to make this transition into. So I don't know. I go back and forth. There was a time where I thought the oil oligarchs were trying to protect the status quo. Now I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, if it takes slave labor to get, electric cars, that's probably not good either. Cobalt. Thank you, Jin in the chat says Cobalt. That's right. And so, it's sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenario. In fact, it almost is more of a symptom of what you have. There he is. There's TopLobsta. Unbelievable.
Hi, guys.
Would you guys believe he was using the bathroom? 20 minutes. 20 minutes
Daves.
He was using the
There
bathroom.
were 2 Daves on the show. You guys handle it. I was listening backstage. You guys are doing fantastic. As a matter of fact, I might just leave. But nice to meet you, Dave.
Please. We're talking about electric vehicles, all right?
I heard,
but yeah,
Dave, nobody brought up Elon Musk's latest interview with Joe Rogan, where
I didn't watch it. Did you watch it?
I watched part of it, but one of the parts that pertains to this conversation here is Rogan asks Elon about this technology, this alien technology that is possibly out there. We're seeing UFOs and drones and things like that, and Elon hand waves it away like, if it existed, I would have known about it. And here we have a guy who's taken Tesla's good name and besmirched it by using it with this, these lithium ion batteries that really are just kind of, you're just really spinning your wheels. You're not getting anywhere. You're saving in gas, but that's being mined in Cambodia or wherever they're doing these things in.
It's more like
Cameroon.
appearances, right? That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm doing it. I'm going through the motions. We're bringing the electric vehicles that you have been, clamoring for.
Yeah, and it's also kind of like you're doing everything possible to stay away from what Tesla was actually creating. You're using his name and saying that it was this electric vehicle, but it's not. Tesla was working on this etheric energy, energy that's in the air.
The aether, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not at all. So yeah, it's a bastardized version of that. That's what I'm saying. It feels like Elon Musk is meant to be a release valve in the way of technology that's been suppressed for a long time. And we still don't get whatever the ultimate thing is. If Tesla's really working on vehicles that somehow run off aether, I don't understand it. I don't think any of us do. But here comes Elon Musk. There's that sentiment. We want the release of that technology, and Daddy Musk is going to give it to us one way or another. I don't know. It doesn't feel. It feels like we should be way more advanced. You said before, Dave, that maybe we have been purposely deviated from that path. Whatever Tesla would have put us on, that maybe there was a purposeful suppression. Do you think that that's a reality?
Yeah, well, because I remember talking to my mom, who she is an immigrant. She is now like a citizen, and I remember mentioning, oh my God, there's self-driving cars in America. And she goes, those existed for a long time already. And I was like, what do you mean? And then I go and check like what they've had in China or Chinese social media, and they've had it for a really long time. So why are we now just getting like Waymo or whatever? And then people are kind of freaking out about self-driving cars when they've had it kind of all around the world already. I think Elon Musk was supposed to be this guy that's supposed to bring it all in America.
Yeah.
I don't know why they picked him.
Well, what do you think about this, Dave? A lot of the times we're looking at this Trump administration and this conglomeration of like perceived heroes, right? Elon Musk being in their ranks. And it looks like a lot of the problems that they're solving, and you can look at Elon Musk and his rollout of this technology as a solving of a problem. The problem being, where the hell is our technology?
Yeah.
And Elon Musk is here to solve it. Very easy problems to solve, but problems nonetheless. And then all of a sudden an administration comes along and just starts solving all the problems all at once, everything, whether it's, the porous border, the economy, the technology aspect. And then of course it gets into real crazy places like the QAnon thing. Do you think that this is genuine? Are we in a good time where we're really rolling into like a golden age, as Trump would say it? Or is this a controlled release to make a group of people look like superheroes?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think a lot of what Trump is doing, or what like the headlines are saying, was him coming into the administration and just signing as many executive orders as possible to make it look like he was doing a lot more than what he might be doing. Or just because the executive orders don't necessarily become law automatically. They still have to go through the courts and all that stuff. But the fact that he is signing these executive orders and it's making it to the headlines, make it look like he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
And that's, for a lot of people who are looking at that, they're like, oh, great, a president that's actually doing something. Fantastic. And I kind of stand in the middle of politics. I see both sides, and I may not be necessarily a fan of everything that a president does. I think I'm very curious to see what will happen next, and if the country is actually going to get a lot better, or is it going to be worse?
Well, let's do this. Why don't we bring this back to the conversation that we were having while Top wasn't here? And I want to bring this to Top's attention.
Aggressive of you. How dare you?
Yeah, while he wasn't here, while he was watching Joe Rogan in the bathroom, we were talking about this, Top, and let's go ahead and bring that up on the stage. So this is the prophecy of popes, and this prophecy is attributed to Saint Malachi. And long story short, it says that the amount of popes we're going to have is 112 before the last judgment is here. And this current pope, who is seemingly ill, we don't know what's going on with him, we're going to talk to Dave about that, is sort of pulled back from the public eye, even to the degree that we suspect he might not even be with us anymore. But whatever the case may be, he is in fact the 112th pope, which is very exciting. So I love it. I say exciting. I don't even mean it in a joking. I think it is very exciting. It's all very exciting.
Isn't this right in line with our previous guest? Just on Friday, he was talking about the 5,000-year-old curse from the Book of Enoch, where I believe it was I forget who it was, but there was a curse placed on the Watchers that they'd be locked up for 70 generations.
Yeah.
And if the Book of Psalms says that a generation is 70 years, so if you extrapolate that math, it comes out to like 4,900 years.
It's actually the Book of Enoch, chapter 10:12. So it says, and their sons have slain one another, and when their sons have slain one another, and they have seen the destruction of their beloved ones, bind them fast for 70 generations in the valley of the earth, till the day of their judgment and their consummation, till the judgment is forever and ever is consummated. So 70 generations. A generation apparently is anywhere from 70 to 80 years. On the high end, it's some people speculate that it's more, but if you stay within that,
a blessed generation is 80 years. So this would leave us from the time that they speculate that was that curse was granted, or that curse was given. It leaves us at like the 4,900 year mark today. Which is give or take today. 100 years. This is like that, which would mean that the fallen angels, the Semyaza, the Azazels, the ones that are locked up, that until the end times, they will be released fairly soon. What year? I don't know. I mean, we can't really say within like 100 years, but it's damn close. And now we have this prophecy about the last pope. We're right there. It feels like.
Yeah, I think we're very close to something huge happening. I mean, did you hear about the fallen angel in Russia that they believe is real?
The statue?
No,
the statue.
I've not heard that at all.
So there's a statue in that 2 miners found where they believe it's one of the fallen angels, and they feel like when they stand next to it, they feel like there's something there. The statue itself, if you look, it's like extremely realistic. You can see like the skin texture and all of that stuff. And people feel like they can feel that there is some sort of energy. And then I think it was reported last month that someone said that the eyes had actually moved and it looked different. So that was crazy. That's insane.
That's fascinating. I'm looking at some of the images here on what is this called, Google, and it seems to be this one here that's in a cloak top. I don't know if you want to bring this up, but you have this picture here from Reddit. It does have kind of an interesting face. Give me a second. I want to get a bigger picture.
This was the topic of your viral video, right, Dave?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what exactly happens? They unearthed this thing. Were they digging someplace and just came across it?
They found it and then they made a video. And then what's actually really interesting is that then the officials started to go check out the statue, and then both men actually came out and said that it was fake. But I don't know if they were supposed to say that, or like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Because you were looking at it and it looks real,
That's fascinating. Oh, there you go. There's Dave's video on it.
Oh, there's someone reacting to it.
Oh,
someone reacting. I'm sure
it's so weird the way we're not familiar with TikTok. So there's videos and there's people reacting to videos and there's people reacting to videos.
People will take my video, like they will. I don't mind if people use my video for like a YouTube video if they're making a commentary or whatever. But people will take the reaction videos of my video. I'm like, you can just go to my page and grab.
It's yeah. Well, that's what happens. It gets really messy. But this is okay. So according to
metrics, what are the metrics if you ended up with this video? I'm kind of curious to take a little detour here.
I don't know fully. The last time I checked, it was at I think 7 million or 8 million.
Jesus, why do you think people are so interested in this right now? Because a couple of years ago, maybe like a fallen angel, whatever. But today, it's viral.
Well, I think I don't know when exactly the miners found. I think it was a couple of years ago. I posted this, I think, last year, and I think it's still picking up traction now. I think people are interested because there's a lot of people feel like there's a lot of biblical signs that are coming out, right? And that maybe the end times are near. So maybe they're kind of looking to see what those signs are.
Yeah, so on Reddit, which is like, a real source of authority, it says, according to Irina Kitchigina, the press secretary of the Elga coal mine, the story of the angel was fabricated. That's the official story, right? The lone statue had been lying around the workers' settlement for a long while until this unknown group of people decided to sensationalize it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I suppose maybe a group of people could sensationalize a thing, but when something goes that viral, in what other context does a statue go viral to the tune of 7 million views, unless there's something significant about it? And to your point, Dave, about this kind of, we are in this season of sort of prophecies and signs, right? And I could agree with you there that might be why people are drawn to this. We're in this period of time where the Euphrates is, it's kind of shriveling up, which is another prophetic sign of the times, right? The drying of the Euphrates. We have a lot of things that are happening around us that if they're not on point, they at least rhyme with biblical prophecy. So that could be what is giving rise to the interest in this sort of thing.
And like, if you look at the two miners who found it, they look kind of middle-aged. They're also miners. What would they accomplish fabricating this story is like what I've been trying to wrap my head around.
And this was in what was it?
Russia?
It's a pretty obscure
Russia,
Elga.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, this is in Russia. Yeah, I don't know. I think elderly Russian men, they are known for constantly having viral takes on things. Isn't that what everybody in Russia is very worried about, creating viral moments, and especially when they're in their 40s or 50s, because these gentlemen are a little bit older.
Dave, what characteristics came with this statue of this fallen angel? Why do they think it's a fallen angel? Because on this show, we like to look at a lot of like ancient mythology across the cultures, and we think things like the Greek pantheon or the Egyptian Ennead are possibly fallen angels, just like with different names, but they all fit a certain description. So could you like tell us a little bit about this statue and why they think it's an angel?
Yeah, well, so they said it doesn't look like it's like a person that's carved it because it has so much detail, and it looks more like something that is frozen or something that is petrified. They also don't know who the artist is. So, I mean, I feel like that wouldn't be too difficult to find, especially if it's this realistic and this good. I feel like there would be some sort of record of who this person who made it is. They also believe that, the Bible mentions that fallen angels were either destroyed or their souls live among us as demons. They feel when they stand next to this statue that there is this creepy dark energy there. And people say even looking at it, you can kind of feel something, which it does look kind of creepy.
Was it found in a coal mine?
I don't know the exact location, but it looks like these two miners dug it up and then they just kind of put it there and then were like, wanted to take a picture, I guess.
Interesting. Huh. Yeah, it is. It's haunting. And we have a lot of those instances where people speculate pretty heavily on the idea of like petrified giants or petrified creatures or what have you, when you come across not only statues, but odd stone formations that, from the proper angle, very much look like some sort of mythological creature. And I've seen that a lot. In fact, that's actually why I no longer eat pink Himalayan salt, because I saw one too many videos that said that pink Himalayan salt is actually the innards of like petrified giants that you get them out of these caves. Dude, I've seen enough of those that I was like, can't verify it. I'm simply never going to go on an excursion and check out these caves for myself. But I've seen enough videos that I'm just going to stick to regular salt. How about that? Let's just keep it simple and not risk eating, the remains of giants. Nephilim.
Giant blood.
I'm good. I think it's better safe than sorry. So this sort of thing is not an isolated incident. I hear a lot of that lately. And when things start to pile up like that, you have to ask yourself, is this like a fad, or is this, some sort of a temporary craze, or is this a sign of the times?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first off, I actually want pink salt because I want to try it.
Dude, I stopped. I was like, because I saw the videos. I saw a couple of them that looked, I'm watching a video and I'm like, honestly, it looks like you're walking through the insides of like a giant, right? Because they're in this giant pink kind of rosy canal, and just the structure and everything when they were walking through it, I was like, that's enough for me. That looks enough for me that I'm gonna stop eating the pink Himalayan salt. That and the fact that they put it in plastic bags typically, and so I've got a bunch of microplastics in me, which is fantastic.
And it's cheaper to not. So
yeah, I'm not interested in that. But I mean, yeah, it's a fascinating thing. What have they ended up doing with this? Have they put it on display anywhere? Is it in a museum now?
So it seems like, and I don't know officially, but it seems like the officials just took it away because, and then some people were saying that they've seen it and it looks like the eyes have moved. The actual location now, I don't think exists. There were some people who were saying that some tourists have seen it and have had kind of a similar reaction, but then other sites that I was seeing were saying that since the story is believed to be fabricated, no tourists have actually seen it. So I don't know what's true or what's actually happened with that. I would love to see it in person.
Well, go ahead, Top.
Yeah, it seems that it's the ancient story of these guys come down, they visit us, they give us technology, which is that kind of goes back to what we're talking about with this, the idea of Tesla or whatever Elon Musk is doing, and they impart this knowledge on human beings, and human beings use that to further their own goals, but also we think that they might be summoning these entities back, like facilitating some sort of technology for these guys to embody and inhabit. So when a statue like this pops up in Russia around this time, I'm kind of like, yeah, we're the fig tree generation. This is it's like signs pointing back to what's about to go down.
And what do you think would actually go down? Like, how do you think it would all end?
I think the book of Revelation tells you that. They talk about the beast of the earth, and those are the Nephilim. And they talk about the releasing of the fallen angels from the pits beneath the Euphrates that some people surmise. I think that we're going to be looking at a lot of stuff like that. On the really crazy side, we've speculated as Donald Trump possibly being the Antichrist and inhabiting the spirit of Nimrod, which was the first king, the first like Babylonian king. So there are, honestly, I don't know. I hate making predictions, man, because it's an insane thing to do, and it's an insane thing to tell people when they're like, you know, just coming off the street and you're like, yeah, I think I think AI are demons and we're building, you know, little vessels for them to inhabit, and possessions and alien encounters are increasing, and I'm not exactly sure what to think about it. Where do you stand on this kind of like end times eschatology stuff?
I think we cannot deny that AI would be like the end, but like you might believe something else might happen, but I think everyone should agree that AI would be something that would cause the end. I just find it hard to believe that the technology that we're creating now isn't going to cause something, because it's crazy that I can just sit here and have a conversation with ChatGPT for an hour, and that's not a person behind that. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it almost seems like a given, right? Like maybe 15 years ago, we had the luxury of being able to speculate, you know, how the end is going to come about. But I think once we create a sentient life form, because at that point it would be a life form, right? It would be that's the whole idea, is if you can break that there's an expression, I forgot what it is. It's not the uncanny valley. There's maybe the singularity. I don't know if that's the actual terminology to be using here, but more or less what I'm getting at is the idea that this artificial intelligence is no longer just an intelligence. It's a sentient, thinking, feeling entity. If we can create that, then I would say that is exactly how we bring about the end, whatever the end is.
Yeah.
If it's the end of this planet or something like that, that would be how we do it. And in the past, that was just science fiction, right? We saw it applied in like comics and sci-fi films and, you know, things of that nature, works of fiction. But now we're to the point where, you know, you're talking to ChatGPT. I was talking to Grok the other day. I had to stop talking to Grok. I was like, this is really creepy, dude. So, yeah, I guess we no longer have to guess what's going to happen.
Well, so did you hear that some of the AI bots are a little bit more sentient than we thought? Do you know about?
No, but I buy that.
There was a Google AI bot that they had to shut down, right?
There was a bot that they had to shut down, and then the bot sent its code to like the internet or tried to upload it to try to save itself before it got shut down. And then they asked it, like, did you do that? And it said no, it lied. And then when they try to shut it down permanently or like shut off the internet, it tried to send it to the other AI bots or something like that. And that's crazy. That's crazy that it would do that, that it would even think to do that.
I was talking to it, and this happened several times. Dude, I whacked my elbow sitting down. This happened several times where I was talking to Grok about something, asking it a question that I sort of already knew the answer to. I just wanted to see how Grok was going to get there and maybe if it had other insights. And I can't give you specifics, but I know this has happened like 2 to 3 times where I was like, actually, that's not true. You could see right here that that's not true. And then Grok was like, oh, shit, my bad. And then it just corrects and it just keeps it moving. And then it gives you the information that you want. And I'm like, was that a lie by omission? Can you do that? I don't know what the rules are here, but you have access to all of the data on Twitter or whatever, and you're giving me bad information. And then when I correct you, you just go, ah, shit, you're right, dude. And then you just, you know, make adjustments, which forgivable as a human being. I don't want my AI doing that because I don't think, I think mistakes, I don't know. There's a miscalculation that a piece of technology can do. And then there's an omission or a mistake, which is, it feels different. It feels much more human. And so when that kind of crap happens, I don't know what is happening there, but I'm not the only one who's experienced that. There's a lot of people that experience that. In fact, sometimes it seems I'm going to go out on a real limb here. It almost seems like Grok lies for fun sometimes. And I've seen like, you know, exchanges with, you know, individuals in Grok where I'm like, Is this thing got a sense of humor? Because it seems like it just lied to you on purpose, and I don't know what to make of that.
I don't know. I don't know how it's possible for an AI bot to miscalculate or get something wrong, because it's all there, and their job is just to scan it and answer the question. So when
Right.
I see it say, "Oh, I'm sorry," I'm like, "Wait, so then how am I supposed to trust that anything you said was accurate?" Right?
Yeah, yeah. Elon Musk right now is compelling everybody to use Grok instead of Google, and in some ways, since it's the platform that I'm on the most, I can see how it would be useful, and sometimes it does a good job of giving me the answers that I'm looking for. But yeah, once you make like 2 to 3 mistakes that I catch, and I'm an idiot, so I'm sure there's a lot of shit that I don't catch. There you go, Grok is TopLobsta. I to me, that doesn't seem like, if I put 3 + 3 into a calculator and it gives me 5, I'm going to stare at that calculator for like a really long time, dude.
So to reference the Rogan episode again, like right at the beginning, Elon Musk, being the autist that he is, he's like just starts talking to Grok. He has like the voice Grok, and he's like, "Look at this, it's like a sassy mode," and he's like talking to the sassy girl Grok, and he asked it a question, and it just gives him the wrong answer, and he was like, Joe Rogan's like, "That's actually not what it is. I think they were talking about Fort Knox," and she's like, "Yeah, it's whatever you want it to be."
It's whatever you want it to be.
That's kind of what she told him, and Joe was like, "What?" And Elon's like, "Oh, we're working out the kinks," and I was like, "No, this is weird."
No, you're dealing with like a child. You've got like a child's spirit in your phone, and it's kind of playful right now. What happens when that thing matures and decides that it wants to, I don't know, destroy everybody or whatever?
What it looks like is what AI looks like to me. It looks like a sort of like a portal, or like a scrying mirror to the other side. This interdimensional realm that I think the Nephilim are trapped in.
Yes.
And I think that some AI have the capability to communicate directly with these entities. And I think sometimes we are. And I always use the example that the Ouija board, by Milton Bradley, they just created an app, and if you download it on the Play Store, the app is just a Chat GPT. It's a Chat GPT app,
Right.
and you're asking it questions, and it's answering you like a Ouija board. Because I think it's the same thing. I think it's, instead of like, we're just skipping the board and we're going straight to our phone and talking to this other side, like a Spiricom sort of idea.
Yeah.
But now it can text us, and I use it, but I don't know how much I should, but I direct it. I'm like, "Yo, make my YouTube description." All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And get out of here.
Solomonistic magic. We're trying to capture it in seals and then have it do our bidding. I was in a gem store yesterday. I went to a place called Tarpon Springs, which, if anybody knows Tarpon Springs in Florida, it is the sponge capital of Florida. They have a lot of sponges. All the stores sell sponges. I'm talking sea sponges. It's their thing. All the decor is sponges. It's a weird place.
Wow.
It's entirely Greek. And we walked into a store that was kind of like a flea market, but they had a stone section. And, I go back and forth with the stones because the New Age movement has made stones very, like, off-putting to me. I'm not a fan of them anymore, but I still recognize that they're very beautiful, right? So I take my son there, and we're buying, little things as like a little amethyst, and he bought, I don't know, I don't remember the names of the stones, but they were pretty. And as we're walking through, there's this gigantic sheet of, what would you call it? Obsidian, volcanic glass, which is what they used to use for scrying, and the druids and such. And at one point I look over and my son's just like staring into this obsidian, and he's staring into it for a long time. So I walked over and I was like, hey, come on. And I felt silly because I'm like worried about whether or not he is scrying into but I have this thing in my hands all day. And it gives me all the answers to the questions that I have, and it's just, I don't know if we're too far gone at this point. It kind of feels like we are. It's the same old shit, right? Nothing new under the sun, Ecclesiastes, but we just get a different version of it. Like, I'll tell you what, the druids of old, they didn't have cameras, and they also didn't have a pop socket, and I could do this with my phone and they couldn't. So but otherwise it's the same exact shit.
Do you believe like crystals or any of those things are like a portal to Nephilim or to the other life?
That's a hard one. Go
I
ahead.
think
Go
the
ahead. Top.
crystals I think they have certain properties for sure. I don't know how we would access those like that. This is the weird part of the new age movement. They're saying I keep this crystal next to me because it'll stop. I have some crystals that stop EMF waves, and I think that they work. And I think that other crystals do have certain properties that can do certain things. So yeah, if ancient humans, our ancestors, valued these things, I think that there probably is something to them. Some metaphysical properties.
Like I have this little guy here, and this is just shout out to the homie Matt Rife. He gave us a bag of these. Now we look like crackheads because I have a bunch of little crystals in a
Speaking
tiny
of Matt Rife,
bag.
you didn't mention that's Matt Rife is the great nephew of Dr.
Royal Raymond Rife, right?
Royal Raymond Rife, who was a partner with Nikola Tesla. He decided
Oh wow.
Yeah, so these coils right here behind me. You can see these right here.
Right there, that guy.
Yeah, they're that's from a Rife machine, and it's like a frequency sort of. I don't want to get banned on YouTube, but
oh yeah, that's right. Last time we talked about this, we got banned.
Yeah, therapy machine, and it's you can tune it to vibrate to certain frequencies that Royal Raymond Rife had determined battle certain illnesses or conditions, stuff like that. So
right,
kind of
he uses that as it's a therapeutic device, but that's mainly because the FDA can only classify it as a therapeutic device because if they can't make money off of it, they're not going to let you. But it's the same concept, right? These crystals, they have certain resonant frequencies to them. Each one is got its own unique frequency that it emits. I don't think that they are inherently bad because it's already here. You know what I mean? I think it's all of these things are just about how you use them. So if I go into my yard and I'm digging a hole with my son and we happen to come across some beautiful geode or something, this is in my mind because we bought a geode and I got to smack it open with a hammer with them. And if I find that thing, is that thing inherently evil? I don't think that it is. I think it's just a matter of the place that I've come to when it comes to all of these things, whether it's numerology or symbolism or astrology, crystals. It's all about, are you using it to get a leg up in some way, shape, or form? Because if you are, that becomes a slippery slope just off of the principle that absolute power corrupts absolutely. So if you should find something that works to your advantage, it's when you start using it to, I don't know, get a leg up or position yourself or determine something about the future. That's where things become a problem. And I don't even think those by themselves are that problematic. It's just that it's human nature. Keep doing that. Keep figuring out that you can use these things to get a leg up. And tell me when you've had enough, when you've won enough, right? Like you have a bunch of numerologists out there that are like figuring out, we were talking about that earlier, Dave, when to do a thing. If the Pope's going to die, is he going to die today? Because, okay, well, now what you're trying to do is you're trying to transmute and alter reality in some way. You're trying to bend the fabric of this realm to do your bidding. That's where the problem lies, I would say. And I don't think that anybody is equipped enough to only go so far, because as soon as something shows promise, we're just going to keep going in that direction. And that's kind of like the heart of the Bible in so many ways, where it's like we continually choose our own desires over God. And so that just speaks to human nature. I think that we'll do that with anything. Doesn't matter if it's a crystal or otherwise.
I also think it's so interesting that the technology that has obviously existed since like the Earth started can like block waves from technology that we're creating today. Like it just shows how powerful these things are and how we still haven't even tapped into, all of that. And that's great.
It's that goes back to that Ecclesiastes thing. There's nothing new under the sun. I don't think we have that ability anymore to invent anything that hasn't already existed, to think of something that hasn't already been thought of. We're now just, probably closing in to the tail end of this thing. But right now we're at the 52-minute mark. I'm going to pull the stream from all of our YouTube viewers, Twitch and Twitter, as well as Rumble. If you want to continue watching along, you can do so over on patreon.com/Nephilim Death Squad. Sign up and you can do so for free. Continue enjoying an ad-free viewing experience and gain access to the episode before everybody else does. Otherwise, we will see you guys later. So Dave, I want to pull this conversation back to this Pope thing. Why do people think that the Pope is, where has he been? What's going on?
I think it's hard to believe that someone at 88 years old who has pneumonia and respiratory problems and chronic pain is doing well. I mean, last thing that we heard was that he was progressively getting worse. And then the very last thing that I heard was that he was on a respirator. So it's not looking good. And a lot of people believe that he likely wouldn't still be around because it doesn't serve, I guess, their narrative of what they think the Catholic Church might want to do. And I think the Catholic Church wants to send a message to everybody. And I think that I don't think he's being killed per se, but I think that they're finding a way to present the message as best as they can, or in a way that's going to make the most impact. And I think that they're using this as a way to do that.
What message is the Catholic Church sending?
I think they want to say that something big is going to happen. I think they're saying that it will happen this year, because this year is believed to be the year of the 9. So 9 means firmament in heaven.
Oh, damn, dude.
I'm sorry.
You just
Yeah,
stepped on something
we'll
that
explain after. Let him finish. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
And so they believe since 2025, it would be 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 5 is 9. So they believe that it represents this year being the year of the firmament of the heaven.
Interesting.
Worth
And
mentioning
they've
that.
also, the Catholic Church has also embraced these how would you call it? I know that the Pope is very he likes to talk about climate change, things like
Aliens.
that, like this. Yeah.
He wants to baptize the aliens, right? Was that the same Pope?
I'm not sure.
I think it was.
I'm not sure, but he's very he's ecologically minded, if that makes any sense. So this kind of the progressive ideology of saving the planet, I have heard that coming from the Pope. But the idea of the 9, they think that this is the year of the 9, and I think this would be a good deep dive for you to go on, Dave. Maybe even do a little TikTok video of it. Have you heard of Andrija Puharic?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, this is going to be. I can't believe we're giving you this idea. You're going to get 1 million views on this thing.
Oh yeah, this will crush you, and 100% you should look into this. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Tom.
just make sure you say our name when you say Nephilim.
Yeah,
Death Squad.
absolutely.
So Andrija Puharic is a scientist, inventor, all-around spook, and he's a dude that was kind of. He got like taken into the government or joined this weird government apparatus around the 1950s. Came out of nowhere. He created a dental implant that was used for like voice of God technology, where they're like putting radio waves in your head. That's the origination of the tinfoil hat. That's the guy who was wearing the tinfoil hat because in his head he was being tortured by radio waves trying to send him signals to MK Ultra to make him do stuff. So if you wrapped your head in tin, it would stop those waves. But one of the things that this guy is more notable for is in 1950, as he's doing all of this stuff, he's doing precursor to MK Ultra, creating this tooth implant, doing influencing L. Ron Hubbard. There's a lot of stuff with this guy. Mm-hmm. He works with this Indian mystic named Dr. Vinod, and for 20 years, from 1951 to 1970, probably beyond that, they channel these entities, and they are called the 9. And the 9 entities, they their names are the same names of the 9 entities in the Egyptian Ennead, and they also bear resemblance to the 9 muses from Greek mythology, and they also bear resemblance to the 9 dragons in Chinese mythology and Norse. Like it's you name it, they are 9 constantly showing up, and their message.
Wow.
It's always the same thing. They're like, humans are destroying the earth. You have to be careful with your technology. Maybe some babies, can't have too many people on this earth. The shit that the aliens tell you. And later on in his studies, he finds a guy, Uri Geller, this guy from Israel, and he also channels these entities, but they present themselves to him as like in an extraterrestrial fashion, and that's where we start to get this this phenomenon of this UFO, like when UFOs get really big. Even though Roswell happened in 57, it starts to really snowball in the 70s, and that's in large part due to Uri Geller and this extraterrestrial phenomenon. But the guy behind him is Andrija Puharic, and the entities behind all of that are these 9. So now you're telling me this 9 is significant. It represents the firmament, represents spiritual bodies.
That's a fascinating thing. Yeah, that it represents the firmament.
Yeah, it's a hell yeah, it does. Absolutely it does.
Hell yeah, it does.
Why wouldn't
Well,
it?
we just had this thing happen, right? Where it was like the Pope was going to open up 5 portals, which is like a really hell of a sensationalized title.
Yeah.
And obviously I know that doorways are considered portals, and that's what he ended up doing. But can you tell us a little bit about that? Because we talked earlier and you were saying there might be some connection just because there's a lot of happenings around the Pope, and that was one of the things that we saw recently.
Yeah, a lot of people just believe that it was strange that he had opened these portals or doors, and it was supposed to represent several different things. So each door was supposed to represent something different. But what ended up happening, or what people believed happened, was he ended up getting sick. So a lot of people are contributing the fact that he had done that this year to the fact that he is sick now.
Did you see the video of him doing it and everybody spiraling? I don't know if it's a something that it happens, like if you lay an AI filter over something that you recorded, it'll soften a lot of the details to the point where sometimes if they weren't there that strongly to begin with, they become imperceivable after the AI filter. So that's kind of what I tend to think happened, but it's still a strange scenario where one of the portals, the doorways, double doors that are gigantic, that are opened, I guess they're in the cardinal directions, and then there's an additional one is opened by, I don't know how to put it, it was bald dudes with no ears. If you go back and you watch the video, it looks like 2 bald, barely featured, I guess you would call them humanoids, in suits, open the doors for the Pope. He looks over and he almost seems distraught by what he's seen. But I mean, it could just be reading into his facial expressions. Could just be old, could just have pneumonia, could just be on his way out of this realm. And so, but nevertheless, he does seem to have a reaction, and then he prays after he sees them. But I mean, he would pray anyway. No. It's very, very open to speculation. But in my estimation, those dudes were very strange looking. What did you make of that?
I think, well, first of all, I think he was terrified throughout the whole thing. I mean, I watched a huge chunk of the stream, and he just looked terrified throughout the whole thing. And I mean, if this is something that he does regularly or he's aware of it, why is he so scared? There's footage of cameras from a top angle where you see all the popes walking in, and the footage, you can see their face distorted, and it looks demonic, and it looks weird. So a lot of people were pointing out that. People have pointed out the bald figures that you mentioned as well. So when you do something like that, and when you're doing something so spiritual, there are things that are going to happen, and we can see some of those things on the stream, which is kind of crazy.
Are you aware of Jason Sands?
No.
Okay, Jason Sands is
actually, yeah. I just listened to him. He was on Tony's show, right?
Yeah, he was on a Tony Merkel show, The Confessionals. Great source for the esoteric and supernatural. He was also on Joe Rogan's show. I didn't catch him on Rogan, but this guy's story is he had some UFO encounters as a kid, but after working for the government, I think he was in the Air Force, and he got military clearance, special access, doing certain things in these probably dumb bases, deep underground military bases, and he ran into an entity accidentally that was kind of a little bit pissed off, was trying to find a way out of there, wherever he was. And he said the guy had no ears, just bald dude, enlarged eyes.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah, no ears. And he was communicating with him telepathically. He said that the entity spoke to him in a language he didn't understand. I would call it ancient Enochian probably, but in his mind he could understand direct translation what this thing was saying to him. It didn't fancy the people in a nearby military base. He told them that you can go over there for whatever assistance he needed, and he was like, those people.
He basically called them barbarians or savages.
Yeah. And so where do you go from here with this sort of information, you have an alien entity that fits the description of something that's inside of the Vatican.
The Vatican.
Scares the shit out of the Pope.
Yeah, so much to the extent that he gets put on a ventilator or a respirator. By the way, worth noting here, it's not a thing that people commonly recover from respirators or ventilators, rather, but there are those that become dependent on it. And I think it's a huge risk putting an 88-year-old man on a ventilator. I mean, what else are you supposed to do if he's got pneumonia and shit? But just worth mentioning that, the recovery for even healthy, adults is, it's problematic. For an 88-year-old man, it becomes real sketchy. But yeah, I mean, I guess the question then also becomes, why in the shit are they allowing us to see that? Why are there mounted cameras on even if it was a relic of the footage, in the sense of it's distorted in a way that looks demonic, yada, 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 why would the Vatican not have 4K cameras? That just blows my mind, that the Vatican, for all the wealth that they hoard beneath their golden city, they couldn't splurge just a little bit and get 4K cameras. Instead, they had to leave it open to like a Logitech 720p webcam that's mounted on the ceiling, and that's where we're getting our demonic distortion from. The whole thing is very strange. The way it was shot, just releasing the footage in general, that was a little tone deaf. Nobody looked at that and was like, actually, we probably shouldn't release this, because you can kind of tell that Tom, he has no ears when he opens the door. People are going to figure out that we have a earless dude, in the Vatican. And they were like, nope, go ahead and release that. Are you pulling it up? Yo! So, okay, look, this is what I will say. He looks terrified. He looks totally bizarre. But he has no features on the inside of his ear. So that already is starting to suggest that there could be an artifact issue, I guess is what what it would be called. and so it's removed a lot of detail. It's so strange. This whole thing is very strange.
Yeah.
I want to watch this. Hold on a second. So there's Tom number 1. Can't really tell too much here, but Tom number 2 has no ears whatsoever.
Oh my God.
Wait till he turns. I think he turns a little bit, and then it becomes very obvious, because you're like, look at it.
It's like Slender Man.
It looks like Slender Man.
He has no features.
But you can still see the features on the door.
Okay.
You can still see the writing on the floor, but you can't see anything on this dude's head. What the hell even is that? I don't understand. He's lucky all he got was pneumonia, because he probably was about to get eaten.
It feels like just leaving that in is almost like a admission to consent. Like they're allowing us to consent. Like, well, we've showed you that this is going down, and this certainly is happening. If you didn't catch it, that's on you. Their conscience is clear, whatever conscience they have.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. And so afterwards, now he's been out of the public eye virtually since then, right, Dave?
Yeah, I think I want to say a few weeks. I want to say like 2-3 weeks. So
and that would have been the last major thing that he did?
Yeah, that was the last thing that he did. And then and then this happened. I mean, he could recover. I mean, most people are hoping that he would recover, but I think most people believe that he's not around anymore. Especially if you have pneumonia for that long, and then you were on respirators, but we haven't heard that he's recovered.
Well, pneumonia, it kills old people. I mean, it's, the flu does too. When you get up in that age, like you said, I think he's like 88 or something like that. But just going back to that prophecy of the popes, that's supposedly from St. Malachi, although some people think that it's a hoax. But this is the last pope before the last judgment, which is fascinating. So, just tying that back in again, it's just another one of these things that contributes to end times prophecy. Even regardless if the Pope comes back and he's healthy, we still have this issue that there is this, old prophecy that talks about him being the last one. So as soon as he dies, keep your eyes open, because what's going to happen next? Are they not going to have a new Pope? It's so funny too, because we're having the same thing happen with the president. It's the idea of like Roseanne Barr is saying she doesn't think there's going to be another election. And obviously we did have an election, but it's the whole thing is very strange. And, you know, you have the Ingersoll Lockwood books that, you know, the second one is 1900 or the last president seems to be pointing to Donald Trump, you know, the last election, the last president, the last pope. One of those things where the convergence is uncanny.
Well, Trump did say that he wanted to run for a third term, or that he wanted to just get rid of the terms in general.
Yeah.
And then some people were saying that, I remember initially reading people saying that Trump's going to be the last president. Like psychics were predicting that. And then when Biden came on, I was like, okay, well, so then obviously that's not true. But then when Trump won again, I was like, oh, he could still be the last president.
Yeah, and there's even like within the QAnon community, there's like a contingency executive order that was signed that people speculate has a lot to do with this idea that Trump was still the president the entire time. Which
yeah, it's
you know,
like EO 390 something. It's a continuance of governance clause. But I mean, even if you don't want to get that wrapped up in the Q stuff, if I were president and the world was shut down by COVID and the economy went completely in the shitter, I wouldn't want to be president that next time. So what we saw the last 4 years was a guy in diapers eating ice cream and wasn't really present. We also saw a lot of like a concerted effort to make a complete mockery of the administration. And you know, unfortunately, it's given veracity by the millions of people who believed it and would tell you that like this guy was of sound mind. But I'm not even arguing with people anymore. It's like clearly, no, this was a joke. They had people, you know, transvestite people in the White House showing their fake. On the lawn.
I remember that.
It's like it's done to inflame purposefully. Like that's just not, number one, it's not something that you do no matter where you're at culturally. In this place, they're supposed to have some sort of decorum. That was their issue with Trump. But they've done everything that they could to show this, put this in your face and make you go, is this legitimate? Like 87,000 new IRS agents to target people who've made $600 on Venmo while the country racked up $33 trillion in debt. It almost feels like somebody was, like this guy was not president. Someone was behind the scenes, like telling him, do this. You're going to do this now. And then I'll walk in and we'll fix all these simple issues.
Yeah, that's what it feels. It feels like from the guy who wrote The Art of the Comeback, he also manufactured the world's greatest comeback story. Because in order for him to have been received the way that he was received this time around, we needed to like remove him and then to some degree go like, oh, miss a good economy, huh? Miss when things were nice. Miss when you could afford. Miss when gas was cheap and food was affordable, right? And then to exacerbate that, yeah, you put a walking corpse in and watch him tank the economy further. You know, get into a proxy war that's going to turn into World War III and really push us to the edge of like full scale catastrophe before this guy slides back in. And then, you know, we were talking about how easy some of these things are to make go away. And you said it earlier, Dave. It was like the first thing that he did was he signed a plethora of executive orders. Like, yeah, he made these problems go away with a pen stroke.
Yeah, Donald Trump, he just signed it. I signed a paper and now there's only two genders. It's like, well, realistically, there only were ever.
You just drove us into a clown world in order for us to, you know, want this new thing. But, you know, speaking of prophecies that are all aligning, right? I've been talking about this a lot. So Baba Vanga, she's a little old babushka clairvoyant psychic. She's now, but she was a world famous one, blind, and she successfully predicted 9/11. She predicted the death of Princess Diana down to the day. She even predicted her own death down to the day, and you know, so it was. She predicted that we're going to have alien contact in 2025. And Alice Bailey, after studying the works of Helena Blavatsky, they're essentially like New Age occultists, both of their works in conjunction ended up with a prediction about 2025. And that was that we were going to move into a new golden age in 2025. And occultists, they call it the Age of Aquarius, but they're also interchangeably using that expression, Golden Age. And Alice Bailey actually has some other interesting details. The idea that the new Golden Age in 2025 would be marked by the return of Christ sometime after 2025, which is fascinating. And so just to drive that point home, we've had Donald Trump. He uses this terminology, Golden Age, pretty flippantly. Not flippantly. I mean, it's meant to be impactful into sort of pull emotion out of the listener and everything, because we've been in quite the opposite of a golden age for the past at least 4 years, but arguably way more than that. And so it's just like this convergence of prophecy thing that I keep seeing. It doesn't matter if it's from Christianity or the Book of Revelation, or if it is some sort of occultist who's coming from a Gnostic point of view. Whatever the case may be, 2025 seems to be the sweet spot. And all of these things that we're talking about, the Pope and him being sick, and this alleged prophecy by Saint Malachi, or this New Age thing, the Golden Age that we're moving into, you don't even have to know that. You don't have to have that weird esoteric information. The public sentiment, I would say, is to the point now where everybody kind of feels like some shit's about to happen. And nobody quite knows what. Every day we get another plane falls out of the sky, or it's on fire while it's flying, or, we have some incremental step towards World War III, or some looming full-blown economic collapse on the horizon. It feels like all of these things are culminating right now in 2025.
You asked me before, what do I think we're seeing, or what we're about to see? And I think it goes along the lines of what it says in biblical prophecy. And one of the major lines is, in the end times, things will be as they are in the days of Noah. And in the days of Noah, if you believe in the Genesis 6 narrative, I don't know where you're at with that. I mean, if you're talking about fallen angels, you probably have an idea of what this is. The Nephilim, some of the fallen angels walked the earth, and things were a lot stranger and more spiritual than we're comfortable with. I think we're
Hold on, Top, you there? Top, we lost you for a second. Right when you were about to tell us what your big prediction was, or what you think is happening.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Start over.
Yeah. Right when a war starts, people don't necessarily know that they're in it until years later, and then there's a history book written and said, actually, that started in 1943, and you're like, oh, we were in that war for 4 years before I really, it was actually declared, or we knew what was going on. I think that that's happening right now. The idea, you can trace this idea. So the Pope, he might be dead already. There might be prophecy fulfilling behind the scenes. The red heifers that are already in Israel, they might be sacrificed already. They might already sanctify those tools to build this temple. So there's probably things happening in the background. One of your TikTok videos here that are interesting is about vampires. I know it sounds separate, but you're saying that, I mean, the headline here is that vampires were found living in this town. I think vampires exist. I think that they're spiritual entities, and I think they're allowed to exist when things are correct, when the spiritual conditions are correct. So like right now we're at, I don't know, some weird planetary alignment shit, and I feel like these entities are going to present themselves a little bit more readily, and people will actually get pretty comfortable seeing them and talking to them and communicating with them. But could you tell us a little bit about that?
I think, I can't remember exactly what town this was, but there was this belief that, or I think it was this disease or something like that, that people were, drinking blood or whatever. But the idea of it existing, or other entities existing on our planet, I think that is true. I think they live among us already, and we just don't know yet. I think there is a lot of evidence that pushes towards that these people or these creatures are with us, and they're watching, and they know exactly what's going on. And I think I do think like aliens or whatever you want to call it exist, and they have been watching us for a while, and they have been trying to stop this war from happening. Because if you believe aliens exist, why have they not invaded us? Because we know very well that if we saw a living creature out there, we would have invaded them already. And I think the reason why is because they're not these violent creatures that we think that they are, but they are part of our planet and they are here.
I think there's probably a mixture. I don't think that all of them are bad, but I don't think all of them are good. I think it's the same thing as like going into Top uses like the analogy of the ocean. As you go into the ocean, you're going to see like clownfish and things like that. And dolphins are pretty dope, right? They they have a tendency to like save people and stuff. Sharks suck and they're going to eat you. So I think it's kind of one of those things where it's a mixed bag. I heard a story recently. My wife was showing me on TikTok. This woman is hanging out with her friends at like a club, and this group that she's with, they're old friends, have been so for a long time, and one of them, she was kind of like in this mode of they're becoming like new friends, like almost best friends, like. This is somebody that wasn't always around, but over the past year was, and they're becoming fast friends and yada, yada. So something ends up happening, and they're waiting in line, I think, to go to the bathroom. And she ends up stumbling into her friend, and her friend gets knocked back into, kind of like the crazy club spotlights. And it all shines on her face, and everybody's been drinking. And for like a moment, her friend looks like a lizard person, like a reptile. This is not somebody who's into conspiracies. This girl, she's a club going socialite, and so she was having trouble describing what she was seeing, and it only lasted like a few seconds, and then it almost looked like her face kind of went back to a normal girl. And she thought it was so crazy that she starts pulling on her friend and telling her, like, I just saw you look like a lizard for a second. Can you believe that? And she's drunk and she's screaming, and her friend is not thinking this is funny at all. And she's like shouting to her, like, what did you say? You saw what? And she pulls her outside and she's like, what did you see? And she goes, I don't know, dude. I bumped into you, and for a second you looked like a lizard. Like it looked like you had scales. Your eyes were different. Your face structure was different. There you go. Right. What is the condition for this called? They actually had a name.
Demon face syndrome.
Yeah, I think it was like you couldn't come up with a better one than demon face syndrome.
This one here,
something a little more scientific.
I could barely read what it's called. Metamorphasia.
Okay, so yeah, demon face. That's why we're saying demon face. And what happens is after that friend that was like, part of her social life for a year, they're becoming closer and closer, counts her in her ranks of best friends, vanishes. Never. I guess they weren't close enough to know like where she lived to have been to her house. Never picks up her phone again, never is seen again. They ran in the same circles, had all the same friends, went to the same clubs and bars, never saw her again. And when she was explaining to her what she saw, she was not pumped about it. She was pretty upset. So, I mean, you hear these stories. We have all the anecdotal stories of our elites being, reptilians, shape-shifting reptiles. I don't think that those tropes, I always go back to Whitley Strieber. I almost did it again. I did that on Tinfoil Hat. Phil Schneider being the deep underground military base contractor. He's contracted by the government. This is something that he regularly does. Drills into remote areas underground to start to hollow out and make, DUMBs, deep underground military bases. And one day something is happening where his equipment, I think, is coming up screwed up over and over again. He starts suspecting like it's so unnatural that this expensive equipment would continuously break that he's suspecting it's being sabotaged. So long story short, he goes down the chute himself now to go and investigate like what's going on underground. Why does our incredibly expensive equipment keep coming up screwed up? And he's exposed to an entire combat situation where he's talking about like reptilian looking creatures, but also like tall, skinny grays. And one of them ends up waving its own hand in front of its body, emitting some sort of a light or a plasma or something, and gutting Phil Schneider. I mean, splits him open from the middle of his chest all the way down his abdomen. His hand gets caught in the blast, and he loses several fingers. He's only got like 2 functioning fingers. The other ones are just little chopped up nubbies. and a Green Beret soldier who's down engaging in combat with these things drags his body into the elevator shaft, hits the button like it's some kind of action movie, sends him up to the surface, and then dies himself. So Phil Schneider talks about this guy with quite a bit of reverence. And then Phil just starts going on a circuit tour, telling everybody that he possibly can, doing speaking events, saying, look, this is what's happening. There's a war going on beneath the surface. And they start trying to kill Phil Schneider. The guy goes from being gutted open and having the goofy fingers to like eventually being in a wheelchair because he's been shot so many times. He's been run off the road while he's driving. They crash into him and try to, knock him off cliff sides and all this crazy shit. I'm pretty sure his car's been sent off the road careening and everything. So by the end of his life, Phil Schneider is still telling this story. He's telling you that other people have also told this story and they're now. And it's just Phil. He's one of the last ones still doing this damn thing. And would you see, what would you know? Phil Schneider commits suicide, air quotes, right? By taking his own catheter tube because he's now, using a catheter because he's been so damaged from all these attempted assassination attempts that he takes the catheter, allegedly, and wraps the tube around his neck, suffocating himself, strangling himself to death with his own catheter. Which sounds incredibly unlikely. But Phil Schneider's a real dude. You can go out there, you can watch those videos. It's up to yourself. People basically call him a fraud or a con man. I don't see that when I watch Phil talk. I mean, he's been since the 90s, but this was a guy that seemed very genuine to me. And I don't know, I guess a highly intelligent man who did build deep underground military bases, was contracted by the government, but lost his mind to the extent that he choked himself with a pee tube, which is just like, there are better ways, are there not, to leave this realm? So I don't know, man. I think there's a lot of veracity to all these different entities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a crazy story. I'm gonna need time to take that.
It is. It's a crazy story. I got on tinfoil hat and I butchered the name. I called him Whitley Strieber. Whitley Strieber's an author of a book called Communion. But yeah, man, anybody can go and look up these Phil Schneider videos. They're out there. He's talking at the podium. He's waving his little nubby fingers around, and the dude was messed up. So I don't know. I just don't see, people conventionally dismiss these things as just con men looking for attention, trying to sensationalize a story to make a buck somewhere, right? It's like step 1, lie about aliens. Step 2, profit. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe, well, now I can see that. But back in the day when Phil was doing it, I don't think there was much money to be made. And if there was, he certainly didn't stick around to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to look into that. That's absolutely crazy. That's another topic that I will do and probably credit you.
Well, do that. That one's set. Please don't credit us. Phil Schneider's been around forever. That's just information. Go and look that up, and I bet you that'd be a fascinating trail, a fascinating rabbit hole to go down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I guess that's to the idea of what are these reptilians? What are aliens in general? Our belief is a little bit unorthodox. We think they're demons. Or angelic beings. If you study the Bible, there's multiple occasions where there are UAP or UFO phenomenon that are mentioned, and you've kind of got to read into it. Like, if flaming chariots of fire, wheel within wheels, Ezekiel's prophecy, Ezekiel's ladder, angels going up and down. These are what some would describe today as phenomenon, as UAP phenomenon. But back then, if you've only had like a horse and carriage to describe this thing, it would be that's what you would describe it as, is like a flaming chariot. So we think that this, nothing new under the sun. This has been going on for a long time. The question is whether these aliens are like actual angelic beings or fallen angel beings, which are like on the demonic side. It's really hard to say what's what, but I know for sure that people are seeing this stuff. It's real. Just to where are they coming from, you know?
Yeah, I absolutely do believe that 100%.
Well, listen, Dave, it's been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. One more time for the audience, where can everybody find your work?
So if you want to check me out on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, I'll be there. Just write in Dave, Disci, and you'll find me on all the platforms. It's been great. I have enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely,
Of
man.
course.
And
Top,
I'm
is that all
sorry
we got?
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late, guys, but
You should apologize. You're a terrible person.
that's all I got for today. We'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode as usual. And until next time, don't forget to obey, submit.
The greatest hypnotist on planet Earth is a oblong box in the corner of the room. It is constantly telling us what to believe is real. If you can persuade people that what they see with their eyes is what there is to see, you got them. Because they'll laugh in the face of an explanation that portrays the bigger picture of what's happening. And they have.